and welcome to the BSR Sports Podcast from the fans, for the fans. Today, I'm joined by the usual guest in the World Sports Podcast, Luke McFarlane. How are we, Luke?
Good, mate. Glad to be here, as always.
Good stuff. This weekend, we have one of the most exciting events of the 2021 calendar, one we have all been waiting for. The return of the Mac. The King is back. Connor McGregor has made his return, and he'll be fighting Dustin Poirier this weekend. Are you excited? Look, I am absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, buzzing. Like one of the biggest stars in all sports, you'd say now. And with the amount of times he retires after fights, you just don't know how many of these we're going to get. So I feel like every time he is stepping out in the octagon, it's a big deal and we all want to see it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it very much.
Yeah, it definitely is. And after all well, obviously he said he was retiring, but after all the fiasco with Dana White and with the charity fight, he was supposed to be right. So this fight, he was supposed to be actually fighting Poirier first of all in a charity fight, and then turns out Poirier and McGregor are both. Well, McGregor said he was retired, but both of them are still under contract with the UFC, so they couldn't actually make the charity fight. And then there was a whole legal kick up about it, and then I think Dana White actually got in contact with McGregor, and then they actually did work something out. But do you not think it's a bit mad how McGregor was leaking the messages between him and Dana White, and they were speaking to each other over Instagram?
Yeah, you never like to see that, and it's kind of funny actually because he's kind of been the golden boy for UFC, hasn't he? Like he's really helped propel the UFC to what it is today, and people have sort of joked in the past that he's kind of like Dana White's son. Like Dana White would never have a bad thing to say about him. So to actually see like a wee bit of beef there, it's quite interesting. But I mean, you don't want to see that because as soon as there are these disagreements with your with Dana White and the UFC, then it means that these fights aren't going to be getting made. And no, we all want to see McGregor fighting and fighting regularly. So it's great that they've managed to work out. But I mean, yeah, it's just almost frustrating seeing stuff like that because it's not good, I suppose.
This isn't going to be the same fight as last time, is it? With the beef we had last time, they were at it for weeks in the fight in 2014. And the lead up to it, it was one of the best lead ups to a fight I've ever seen. But I think this year it's been a friendly approach, hasn't it?
Yeah, I remember last time some of the things Conor McGregor saying. I think he said like had a class chin or something like that, and he was going to knock him out.
He says that about everybody.
He does say that about everyone, doesn't he? I suppose this is when he backed off every time. And I think Poirier said that it was like he's never hated someone so much before a fight. So there's clearly a lot of beef there at that time. But I think, like you said, it is more respectful this time. McGregor sort of saying like, listen, he's a brilliant fighter and stuff. Like I'm still going to beat him. I'm better, but not really, at least not that I've seen. I've not seen many like insults thrown back and forth, and obviously it's just so different now with COVID. You've not got that pre-fight build up like we've had in the past, like with press conferences of like 40,000 people or however many.
I miss it, man. I miss it.
I think it would be different. You see, if they were doing like the press conference in like Dublin or something, and McGregor was getting spurred on by like 10,000 Irishmen, then I think it would be a different story. I think we'd be hearing all the usual, I'm going to knock you out in the first round and all that. He still, I think, said similar things to that, but not to the degree we've seen in other fights.
Yeah, 100%. With this fight coming up, it's going to be in the brand new Abu Dhabi arena. I think it's called, what's it called? It's going to be called... the Etihad Arena, I think it's going to be called.
Makes sense.
You seen a photo of McGregor sitting outside it on his yacht. Did you see Max Holloway's fight of the weekend to open it up?
Yeah, I've seen Holloway's fights. I've seen Holloway's fight. Yes.
Very interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's not the same division, is it? He's in the division down still. He's at featherweight, and these two are at lightweight, I believe.
Yeah. I think they both McGregor and Poirier fought at lightweight last time. I'm not actually sure what weight this fight is going to be at because McGregor's up and down all the time.
I could swear this is lightweight, but I'm not sure actually.
Yeah, but it's definitely going to be totally different from the last fight. Last fight we seen Poirier had home advantage, didn't he?
Yeah, I think we've all probably in a spare time, watched that fight back from 2014 or whenever it was, and I think in some ways it was quite one-sided. Like when you kind of go through it, I think
definitely
was dominated in some ways before he finally got knocked out. I think it's going to be different this time. I think Poirier has come on leaps and bounds since then. I think, like, not that he wasn't a good fighter then, he was still, I think, one of the most talented in that division. But some of the people he's beat, he's had, I think, the interim belt at lightweight before fighting Khabib, and it's going to be really interesting to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, I just spoke about Khabib. Both fighters have actually were actually submitted by Khabib. Very interesting one, isn't it? Khabib does have to go down as we spoke about the previous podcast. If you've not seen the Khabib podcast, well, just after he retired, go and speak about it. We talk in depth about McGregor. We talk in depth about Khabib and the greatest of all time argument. But personally, Khabib does have to go down as the greatest of all time at the moment, alongside Anderson Silva.
Yeah, definitely an argument for that, and I think this is almost in this sort of like post-Khabib era, if you will, if that's the right way of putting it. It'll be interesting to see. I think like this fight is almost like picking up the pieces now, because whoever wins this fight is gonna, I think, surely we're fighting for the title in the next fight, and they'll be looking to take over this division. In McGregor's case, they'll be looking to take it over again for a second time. So yeah, I think since Khabib's gone, it's kind of who's left, who's going to be competing in that division still, and the fact that McGregor's come back, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this week, but McGregor's coach, Coach Kavanagh, actually came out and said that the Khabib fight is totally changed McGregor. Changed McGregor from upside down. We've seen before that fight, he was drinking heavy amounts. He was turning up to the press conference absolutely steaming, and a day before the fight, it was madness, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like, it was too far. I think we don't all love him. There's plenty of people who aren't McGregor's biggest fan, but personally, I do find them very entertaining. But it was getting to a stage where he's sitting there drinking whiskey before a fight, and it's like, well, what good is this going to be doing you for a fight? And when you look back at him when he was arguably at his peak, when he was knocking out Aldo, Chad Mendes, things like that, taking over the UFC, Alvarez, yeah. I don't think he was doing that. Like he'd maybe say he was, but I don't think he was drinking and doing things like that.
No,
to that degree. So you're just not going to have the same success. So I mean, we've heard it all before. In all due respect, we hear coaches all the time saying like, "Oh, fighter's completely different this time. He's taken this out of his game. He's added this." So I really hope it's true. And the coach Kavanagh always seems to speak sense. I like him, and I can see why McGregor's had him as his coach for so long. But I hope he's telling the truth. I hope McGregor is different now to how he was before the Khabib fight, and we see him at his very best.
Yeah, I think with that Khabib fight, what he was doing, he was trying to promote his new whiskey brand. Praba 12 whiskey, yeah. Not a bad accent there. But he was trying to promote that brand, and there's a difference between promoting it and drinking half of the supply.
Yeah.
I mean, it was different level, McGregor, man. Turning up, and it was racially abusing Khabib, and he's actually spoke about that, and he says, I can't believe I was doing that stuff. It was racially abusing Khabib, saying, "Oh, you can't drink, you can't drink whiskey, can you?" Like at the press conference, hand him over the bottle, and he was saying stuff like, "Your wife wears a towel on her head" and stuff. Just pure stupidity. But it does seem a totally changed man now. I follow him and just about every social media. He's Instagram. I don't go on Instagram a lot, but when I do go on Instagram, it's usually for your athletes, for like say football players, mostly UFC fighters, boxers, for instance, to see how they're getting on with their training regimes, etc.
Yeah.
And McGregor's body does seem like a temple now. It really does seem to have clicked in the head.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a big thing as well, because you see, I was looking there, and him and Poirier, same weight division, same height. They're both 5'9", both 32 years old. But you see, when you probably stand them, and when we see them in the fight, McGregor does look a lot beefier. Like he looks like he works a lot in the gym, and
He's put on a lot of weight.
He's put on a lot of muscle, and obviously he's been going up and down.
Big on there.
Yeah, been going up and down in divisions, and I think he's fought at welterweight a few times, hasn't he? So I think he's probably finding maybe his best shape now since being at featherweight. When he was at featherweight, he was huge for that division. He just run through everyone, but now he's kind of at a weight where he can comfortably make at his age, because he's 32, so he's not going to be able to cut as much weight. But he looks pretty shredded, and it's going to be interesting to see him and Poirier side by side, because Poirier is always in great shape. But if McGregor's looking a lot bigger than him, then it just shows how hard he's been working behind the scenes, like you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think Poirier is the biggest of person, but people. But when it comes down to it, I feel McGregor's going for a more powerful style. This time around, I think he's learned from the Khabib fight that he can't be all sly with quick leg kicks and his snappy vision. It doesn't work in every fight, and I feel he's going for a whole different type style. We've seen in the last fight, he started McGregor as normal. He started on the front foot, quick snappy leg kicks, hitting him with the right, with the jabbing on the right, and then he was trying to hit him with the left, and it eventually worked, didn't it? Just coming on to the second round, it was still in the first round, and it was a combination. He hit him with a jab, and then a quick jab again, double jab, and then I think he caught me a combination, and Poirier just flopped, and then he just ground and pounded him. Game over. Fight was over. And honestly, I felt sorry for Poirier, because he was quite unlucky with it. I think it was just exactly where McGregor hit him with a combination. It just crumbled him, and that was it. Fight over. And you seen Poirier's face at the end. You seen all the because it was in America. You seen all the American fans giving it USA, and then you seen McGregor shushing all the fans and stuff. So it was a massive fight last time around, and what I'm thinking now is, despite it being friendly, Poirier's going to be determined to make amends for that fight. Definitely.
I think there's a lot more riding on this one. I'm not sure how the rankings were sitting when they fought the first time, but I don't think it wasn't like a title shot on the line or anything. This time, like the winner of this will be fighting for the title. You can pretty much guarantee that. And they're both at an age where 32, they're either at their peak or maybe a wee bit past it. And Poirier's still not got his hands on the full title. He's had the interim belt, but it's now or never really for Poirier. If he doesn't win this, then his only hope is that McGregor immediately retires and he's still got a chance in that division. But if he can't compete with McGregor, then you've got no chance of getting the title. It's really that simple. So it's all or nothing really for Poirier now at this point, and it's a lot more riding on this than when they fought the first time, I'd say.
If you were to say put them both together and say in terms of career, who would you say has got more pressure coming into this fight?
I think Poirier still. I do, because like McGregor's obviously got one of the biggest fan bases in the world, but I mean maybe he's got more pressure, but who's going to feel the pressure more? Poirier. Like, I don't think pressure really gets to McGregor, and we spoke about this, but he's already won two world titles in the UFC at featherweight and lightweight. Like he doesn't need to win this. He can lose and retire, and he'll made his money. He'll have got his titles. So it's all on Poirier, like we're talking about, with him not getting the full title yet. I definitely think the pressure is on him, and he's the underdog as well. I think most people will be thinking McGregor to win. I've not seen like bookies or anything, so I could be wrong with that. But I would say off their first fight that most people would think, including myself, that McGregor is going to do it. So yeah, I definitely say the more pressures on Dustin Poirier. Yeah,
100%. As you said, with the chance of a title fight, we spoke about the friendliness, and both people both of them have been friendly over Instagram. That's how this fight was made. Was it over Twitter or Instagram? It was comments. It was comments on posts about things. It was really just to try and bait the UFC in with Dana White and stuff. It was, but I think both of them are very friendly. They were like, I'm looking forward to this. You're a good opponent. We're giving each other compliments and stuff, which I think with the likes of that, McGregor's a changed man. You've seen it in the Cowboy Cerrone fight. how for the first time I think ever, he's went into a fight and he said, "I respect my opponent. I'm not going to badmouth him. He's one of the greatest of the game." And but he coming into this fight, I feel once they two step in that cage, the friendliness is out the window because there's a title fight on the line. And if whoever wins this is getting a title fight, that is remarkable. To be out of the game for so long for McGregor and get this chance, he's not going to be friendly. Poirier's got his career on the line, basically. He's not going to be friendly. It's going to be a flair fight. And personally, there's going to be a knockout. 100% there's going to be a knockout in this fight. There's no way this fight's going to a decision.
I agree. I think knockout. I think a McGregor knockout to be more specific. But we've already spoke about the size of McGregor, and that can work one of two ways in combat sports, because when you're a lot bigger than the other guy, which I think McGregor will possibly be, like I'll have a lot more muscle on him, then that's all well and good in the first round, the first 2, maybe 3 rounds. If you can get them out of there, if you can make the most of that extra strength and knock your opponent out, which I do think McGregor will. But you see, if it gets to the later rounds and we've seen McGregor gas out in fights a few times, especially in the later rounds.
Diaz, Khabib.
Yeah. So
recently.
I think if Poirier can take him to those distances, because Poirier is showing how good a tank he has, he'll have a war for 5 rounds. If he can get to McGregor to the 4th or 5th round, then anything can happen. I think that's Poirier's greatest chance of winning the fight. I don't see him winning a decision. I don't see him knocking McGregor out at least early. But if it gets to that stage in the fight where McGregor's knackered, McGregor's throwing everything he can throw and Poirier's taking it, then that's his best chance. But it's not how I see it going. I think this could be like one for the highlight reel for McGregor. Like I could see him ending it early, if not, well, the second round would still be early. But I think all those crazy knockouts we've seen from him against Alvarez, against Aldo, I do think this could be another one. As much as I rate Poirier, I think there's a big size difference there. I think McGregor's fought at welterweight. He's a big guy in that division. So I fancy McGregor winning and winning convincingly.
Yeah. We'll talk about the last McGregor fight before we got into Poirier. Cowboy Cerrone. Totally changed McGregor that we've seen in that fight, wasn't it? It was not the fight any of us expected, to be honest with you.
No.
Talk us through it.
Yeah, like that very explosive, everything you'd like to see from him, and showing like some things that we've not seen before. It's always been that famous left-hand shot, isn't it, that everyone knows about, that can seem to knock out anyone. But it was a big left high kick to sort of to have.
Personally, for me, getting into the fight, I felt it was going to be a knockout fight for McGregor. He had to knock him out. He had to get that explosive win. I did not expect the technicality to go into a fight and use the shoulder.
Oh, the shoulder.
The way that McGregor did. I did not expect McGregor to use the shoulder the way he did. He went into the fight, clinched him in, hit him with the shoulder once, hit him with the shoulder twice. Do you know the third time hitting him with a shoulder to his nose actually broke Cerrone's nose?
That's crazy.
Cleanly broke Cerrone's nose. And Cerrone came out after the fight and said there was no chance with the power and the shoulders. I had no chance of recovering. 1, 2, 3, knocked him out. Broke his nose. And then from that, Cerrone, his nose busting. When you break the nose usually bursts. Nose busting, everything, stumbled back. And then it was a high leg kick. And then he hit me a left, hit me a right. Cerrone crumbled. And then he just ground and pounded him. So I think Cerrone recovered once, and then after that, he recovered, but he wasn't getting back up off the ground. McGregor pounced on him again. Second time, he was done, and it was a totally technical fight. We've never seen that from McGregor. It's always been flair. It's always been hit with the right, and then hit a big one with the left. It was never ever something out of the ordinary. So I think we were all in absolute amazement when he hit him with the shoulders, weren't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's testament to how experienced he is now, because we've already mentioned the Diaz fight, or the Diaz fights they had, and that was him going up. That was him going up against someone who was bigger than him, who was tall. I think that was at welterweight as well, and I'm pretty sure the Cerrone fight was also. So it seemed like in those fights he seemed to use the same sort of tactics as he's always had, just try and spark them out with the left hand. And you had Diaz who was able to take this. And I think it would have been the same with Cerrone. Like, you see, if he just went back to the usual, like try to set up that left hand for the full fight, I don't think it would have put Cerrone away. So, like you said, they had to really be tactical, really had to think it out. And the shoulders, it was crazy. I've never seen anything like that with the shoulder strikes in that fight. Like, nothing ever like that in the clinch. And when fighters clinch together, you'll maybe see a knee coming in, some punches, but it's never the shoulder. I think it took Cerrone by surprise as well. But yeah, I think it shows with the experience he's got now that he can just kind of undo a fighter in many different ways. He's got lots of different weapons to him, and the shoulders was obviously something we've not seen before from him.
Personally, I don't even think it's about that. I feel nothing to do with what you said, but what we've said. I don't feel it's about that. I feel it's not. I feel it's more maturity, not the experience. See the way McGregor's just totally matured since that Khabib fight we spoke about earlier. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's definitely experience. He knows that he can't afford to do the things that he's done before, and he's learned from it. He's fought his fights and stuff, but I feel maturity's got a massive part in it.
Yeah,
he's starting to respect his opponents now, and he's starting to figure out how they work. Look at Cerrone. He knew Cerrone was going to come into the fight like that, and he exposed him with the shoulder. But I couldn't think of any other fighter that would think that way.
No.
And it shows you how far he's came. Give it 5 years ago. If he fought Cowboy 5 years ago, there was no chance it was happening. No. He was coming flying in and looking for the knockout first round, and he still got the knockout. Totally different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I think, you're totally right with the way you're saying 5 years ago it wouldn't have been the same result. I think Cerrone and Diaz are very similar fighters, so you can almost look at that Diaz fight and think if he was to fight Cerrone at that time, it could have been a similar story. I think Cerrone, like Diaz, is a black belt in jiu-jitsu and stuff, so superior to McGregor on the floor. So he has just gone through these things, and whether it is just that he's grown as a man or whatever it is, he seems to just not be making the same mistakes that he has made in the past. Absolutely, like you said, you're spot on. But it's just going to be interesting, I think, because we're judging this off. 2 fights ago, he lost to Khabib, and he lost badly. He's had 1 fight since, and just to play devil's advocate, it's against a guy in Cerrone who is well past his best years in the UFC. So we need to see how he's going to do against Poirier, someone who is still very relevant in that division, still fit, still at his very best. So I feel like until we see how he does this weekend, we don't really know how much he's adapted. I feel like right now we're still just going off the word of his coaches and whatever McGregor said as well on social media and stuff about him changing. So it's just, I think we need to wait and see. But I think you're right. I do. I think he's come on leaps and bounds, and he's changed in a lot of different ways.
Talk about change. Poirier definitely learned from that fight.
Mm-hmm.
He's had terrific wins against Anthony Pettis, Alvarez, both who McGregor beat, Dustin Gaethje and Holloway. I mean, remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're not easy fighters. They're definitely not easy wins.
No.
So Poirier's definitely a different fighter. He's a change fighter, so it's not going to be the same fight as before, is it?
Definitely not. That Holloway fight really stood out for me, because I remember when that happened, Holloway was absolutely ripping it up in the featherweight division, and granted, it's a division below, but there's not really any difference in size. Like, Max Holloway could easily be fighting at lightweight. I thought that's probably possibly the best win on his resume for Poirier. But I just remember seeing that and thinking, like, if he can beat Holloway, if he can beat the best featherweight champion ever, maybe at least since Jose Aldo, and he beat Jose Aldo twice, then it just puts into perspective how far Poirier can go. And obviously got the title shot with Khabib, and it didn't go the way he wanted. But yeah, since that McGregor fight, he's picked himself up. He's made himself a different fighter. Had some huge fights and some huge wins, and yeah, I think it makes it really interesting. And there's not really any way to know how this is going to go. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same as the first time they fought, although we still know the way I think it's going to go. I do think McGregor's going to win, but Poirier has changed his game massively since then, I think.
Yeah, as you said, both fighters have changed their ways massively. I'm actually going to contradict myself here.
Mm-hmm.
I said earlier that Poirier is not a big fighter. Like, he's not big. Poirier, I forgot all about the Poirier v Dan Hooker fight.
Mm-hmm.
Poirier has put on a lot of size.
Yeah.
I honestly forgot all about it. I thought Poirier was still quite skinny. Mm. He's not. Poirier's similar to McGregor the way he's put on size, and it's going to be it is going to be more of a powerful fight this time. Last time it was more quick, snappy transitions, but I think this time it's going to be a clean knockout.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right. I think it is going to be a knockout either way, but for me, that's not good for him. If you're right, because I feel like you look at all the times McGregor's lost, it's not by someone standing and trading with him and knocking out McGregor. It's McGregor gassing, or it's McGregor getting taken down to the ground like we've seen with Diaz and Khabib. But I think if that's Poirier's plan, if it is that he's just going to they're just going to hit him stride for stride, try and outpower him and just hit McGregor harder than he gets hit by McGregor, I don't think he's going to win. I think if you're right about the size and they're the same, they're both going in with similar game plans, I don't think it's going to be good news for him. I think his best bet is to have like his cardio and that ready, and to be looking to take McGregor out in the later rounds, in round 4 or round 5. But if it is that they both go in like all guns blazing, I think McGregor could take him. Yeah, if what you're saying is right about like the size being the same with the two of them, I don't think it's good news for Poirier. I think Poirier's best bet is taking McGregor to the 4th or 5th rounds and taking him out then, in which case Poirier might have to be a little bit smaller than McGregor. He's going to need to have like his cardio worked on and ready for this fight. But if it is the case that they both go in, Poirier goes in thinking, I can hit McGregor as hard as he can hit me, he's just going to go in and like working on muscle and things like that, then I think McGregor will take him out early. Like, I'll make that bold prediction now that I don't think Poirier would get out the 1st or 2nd round if he's trying to beat McGregor at his own game. I think he needs to fight tactically and try and take McGregor out much later on.
Yeah, 100%. So you've already gave your prediction for the fight, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Give us a detailed prediction.
I think McGregor knockout win, 2nd round.
2nd. Yeah. Knockout, not TKO.
Oh, maybe a TKO then.
Yeah,
that would be more likely, wouldn't it? Yeah.
We have been saying knockout, but we have really been meaning TKO, haven't we? Don't think he's going to get a proper knockout. I think I'll be worried for Poirier. I think that'll be career over if he gets an actual knockout.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 3rd round, McGregor. Yeah. It's going to be a 5-round fight, isn't it? Because it's a main event.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's
main events are always 5 round. Last time it wasn't actually a main event; it was 3 rounds.
Was it?
It didn't matter. It was a 1st round knockout anyway. I'm going to go with a 3rd round McGregor knockout. Okay. I just feel McGregor's come on far too much, even though Poirier definitely has improved. Having a decision win against Dan Hooker is not the most impressive coming into a fight against McGregor, who's just dismantled Cowboy Cerrone the way he has. He just looks a different animal now. 100%. So we're going to get into, seeing as it is a world sports podcast, we need to talk about other sports, don't we? It is a shame, but can I have it your way? Nah, I'm only joking. Look, NFL playoffs coming up this weekend.
Yep, some big games. You've got the 2 championship games. You've got the Packers against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you've got the Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. So the 2 winners of these are going to be facing off in the Super Bowl. So yeah, biggest week of the biggest games of the NFL calendar so far this season, and a lot to look forward to. A lot of exciting games coming up. So we'll start with the Packers and the Buccaneers. It's Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. That's going to be probably
Well, obviously the Super Bowl's the biggest of the season, but up until now, I think that's going to be probably the biggest game, just purely because it's Tom Brady against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
the MVP race, really.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the funny thing, because you and me have been speaking a couple of times so far, and it's been Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes, hasn't it, who we thought would be the two most likely. But all of a sudden, you've got Brady and the Buccaneers who have beat the New Orleans Saints 30-20, and Drew Brees, who's retiring for the Saints, his last game ever for them. So he would have been given it his all. So Brady's been getting a lot of stick this year, but all of a sudden, if you can beat the Saints, and if you can beat the Saints with Drew Brees, and you can get to the Super Bowl and knock out Aaron Rodgers' team, then all of a sudden Tom Brady's going to be in the talk for that as well. And he's had a lot of stick this year for the way he was performing in the regular season. So I think it'll be, yeah, like you said, one of the biggest games we'll have had this year. Well, the biggest game, along with the Chiefs, but yeah, something to look forward to, seeing Rodgers and Brady. I've not seen a huge amount of the Packers this year, so I don't know. I've not been able to see Aaron Rodgers firsthand a lot, but he's had a remarkable season, barely throwing any interceptions, just looked dominant every time he's playing, and as do the rest of the Packers. The Buccaneers, though. Sorry, I was just going to say.
I was just going to go on the way you were talking about Tom Brady. We've seen it 2 years ago, didn't we? At the Super Bowl, Tom Brady, the first half, I think the Patriots get 3 points in the first half or something, and we were like, where is Tom Brady? It's Super Bowl, the biggest performance of the year, and you've not turned up. What's happened? Second half, Tom Brady returns to the Tom Brady that we all know, and it's the capacity that he has got in his brain. It's the intensity that he can just switch from nothing, from 0 to 100. And honestly, I didn't want the Patriots to win, but I was sitting there and I was like, where has Tom Brady come out of?
Yeah, it's hard to hate on it, isn't it? Even if it's not the team you support, when you see him like mounting these comebacks like that, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy the stuff he's been able to do. But
honestly, it's just remarkable how out of nowhere he was just obviously as a quarterback, he was just picking balls and finding people in spaces that no even the commentators couldn't see them. Like, nobody could see them, and he was just picking pockets in the back line. Oh, amazing, outstanding! And honestly, if he can do that in such a big game and get another team to the Super Bowl, he will go down as probably the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I think that's guaranteed at this point.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
But it's interesting what you're saying about all the times he's been doubted in the past, and he continues to prove people wrong. But we're maybe seeing it right now. Like, even right now, that like his greatest fans will be saying, like, no, this isn't the Brady. This isn't the Brady of old. Like, it's too big an ask for him and the Buccaneers to go on and win, maybe in a year or two. But then, is Brady going to be here in a year or two? But all of a sudden, they've spanked the Saints, and they've got a chance now to beat the Packers, and you're one game off the Super Bowl. Like, where this is coming out of nowhere. Like, this is a comeback right now in itself with Brady and the Buccaneers, because, like I said, they were getting stick this season. They were losing the big games. They lost against the Chiefs. I think they lost against the Saints as well. And in the biggest game of the year, they swept the Saints aside. And I think we're seeing with Brady just how good he is, and it's like he's coming in clutch again at the biggest moments.
Yeah. So it's going to be a tale of the quarterbacks. Who do you see having more of an impact? And, well, obviously the first game, Packers v Buccaneers. We'll get on to the Chiefs v Bills in a minute.
I think with Aaron Rodgers, he's been in the talk, hasn't he, for the MVP award, and the Packers as well have been maybe favourites behind the Chiefs for a lot of the season to go to the Super Bowl, to maybe win it. I think, personally, because I've watched more of the Buccaneers and I've seen more of Tom Brady, I'm going to go with him. I think with Aaron Rodgers, I'm maybe doing him a bit of a disservice because I've just not watched him enough this year. But the season he's having, I think a lot of people would say Aaron Rodgers, and the Packers are still favourites, and I definitely won't be surprised to see them get to the Super Bowl and win this game. But for me, just with the amount of football I've seen from Brady in the Bucks this year, I'll go with him. I will. He's just done it time and time again. I think 5 Super Bowl rings, and he lives for this sort of occasion. He lives for these big games. This is why he's come to Tampa Bay, and some of the players he's got. He's got Antonio Brown, who's starting to look really good as the season's gone on, coming into the big games with some big performances. So I don't want to say my money's on the Bucks. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be close.
You've got no money.
I've got no money. That's true. But if you push me to predict a winner, I'm going to go with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Aye.
What score?
I think it could be a big scoring game. Let's go 35. No, I'm going to go 38-35. Tampa Bay. Yeah.
That's a close one.
A field goal.
That is a very close one.
What separates them?
That would be an excellent game.
Mm-hmm,
now you're saying that, it's going to probably be...
It's going to be a boring one, isn't it? Now that
13-6 game or something. Any other conference final, or as you would call it, a semi-final? Well, I would call it a semi-final anyway for the Super Bowl. Chiefs v the Bills. It's going to be a very interesting one, depending on Patrick Mahomes starting.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's $1 million question. Is if Patrick Mahomes starts. We spoke a couple of times, and I've not been able to go against the Chiefs at all this season. I just think they're too good. Mahomes is too good. He's the best player in the league. He's amazing. But all of a sudden, it might not be that it might be a question of the Chiefs losing, but not with Mahomes at quarterback. So the game against the Browns the other day that they won, they had to bring in their backup and just wasn't looking as good. So Mahomes got a concussion, and when you see the hit on him to give him the concussion, it didn't look that bad. It wasn't even really contact to the head. I think he got hit in the shoulder, but he was slow getting up, and he looked kind of light on his feet and stuff. And you're sort of thinking, how has that happened? So that is huge for the Chiefs. I think if Mahomes starts and he's fit to start, then I think the Chiefs will win this as good as the Bills have been. I think the Chiefs have more. But if they're starting their backup quarterback and Mahomes can't play, then despite the Tyreek Hill, the Travis Kelce's in their team, I think the Bills will be too much for them. So I think with Mahomes, it's a win. This isn't very complicated to work this out. But I think with Mahomes, I'd be confident that the Chiefs would get it done and be in the Super Bowl again. But if it's their backup, then no, not for me. I think Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and for the Bills would have too much for them.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on Josh Allen then, coming into this?
Yeah, similarly to the Packers, I've not watched a huge amount of the Bills. I'm a Washington fan, so I can't say I've watched the Bills every week, but I've been hearing...
You've just been watching rubbish all year, haven't you?
I've just been watching the rubbish teams this year.
Washington football team.
I know they've not even got a name, have they? But no, from what I've seen of Josh Allen, it seems really good. I think it's just his second or third year as a quarterback starting in the league, and he's leading them to a conference final. So he's obviously doing absolute bits for them. He seems like he's one of the top quarterbacks now in the league. I think he was 7th overall pick in the draft when he came into the league. So clearly really talented guy, and he's leading his team to wins week in, week out. So it's going to be interesting. I definitely do rate him. I just put Mahomes above everyone in the league. So I think if it's starting, then
Mahomes,
then there's no...
Mahomes was remarkable. We spoke about Brady popping out of nowhere. Mahomes last year, the exact same thing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to win. I didn't want the Chiefs to win. I don't know why. I just didn't see that way. See that way you go into a game and you tend to pick the underdog.
Uh-huh.
And I went into the game and I was like, I don't feel it with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then, boom, out and over, what happens? Patrick Mahomes. Next thing you know, man, he was getting carried up in the air with a Lombardi trophy in his hand.
Yeah.
So It's just when you know a player's next level, that's when they prove themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you spoke about Tom Brady. Could Aaron Rodgers do that? Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think Rodgers is definitely. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think maybe only Mahomes is a better quarterback than him, and off this season, Rodgers is potentially the better of the two. I'd still take Mahomes, I think, for what he's capable of, but I think it's a toss up. I think between Brady, Rodgers and Mahomes, I think it can go any way with those teams. The Bills are obviously getting fancied by a lot of people as well. As it's getting closer after what they did to the Ravens the other day, but I think Mahomes he's just a different talent to everyone else. Like, you see some of the stuff he does, and I'm similar to you where I think I don't know if it's because they're the favourites or what, but I almost am getting just sick of watching them win, and when they're playing, I'm like, I hope they lose, and even if it's against a random team like the Dolphins or the Raiders during the season, I find myself supporting them all of a sudden, and then I'm like, I don't know why, like the players are all likable on the team. Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes, they all seem like nice, likable guys, and they're all unbelievable. But I think it's just that stage now where we're all kind of taking it for granted with the Chiefs. But it's going to be really. I feel like it might be a more interesting game if Mahomes isn't starting, because I'd like to see how they get through it if they're using their backup quarterback.
Yep. Thank you very much for the NFL talk, Luke. And I was going to say good luck to Washington, but I'm not playing.
No, Washington. Prediction for that.
Oh, what is your prediction for that? Sorry.
I think if Mahomes starts, I have them winning. So 31-21 to the Chiefs. If Mahomes is starting. If Mahomes isn't starting, then it's trouble. But
we'll need to wait and see.
Yeah.
I think there's another spot we need to talk about. Look,
the NBA, Blair. Would you like to take us through that, please? I
would indeed. Thank you. I don't know if you've seen this week, but it's been a majorly controversial trade in the NBA.
Tell us about it.
James Harden.
Oh.
James Harden has moved from the Houston Rockets. I said it in my. If you've not seen it on the website, go to bslsports.co.uk and check out the NBA preview for the season. I actually spoke about the fact that James Harden had a chance of leaving the Rockets. He actually fell out of favour. He was turning up at things, wasn't looking forward to things. It just wasn't the same James Harden we've seen for the Rockets. The MVP they got a couple of years ago, nowhere near it. So it was actually an interesting score last night. Instant impact for Harden. Last year's group leaders, Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks faced up against the Brooklyn Nets. Harden's first game, what happens? The Nets turn up, they beat them 125 to 123. The Nets are going to be an outstanding force. And honestly, I see them going on, well, not all the way, but I see them going far this year. They've already beat the Lakers, they've already beat the Bucks, and now they've got James Harden. Scary.
I think I could just push them to that next level now.
Oh, scary, by the way. Kevin Durant's come into some game as well. I think he's returned near his form that he was in his heyday. Last night as well, there was a massive upset. Steph Curry has stepped it back up to where he was.
Mm-hmm.
The Warriors actually beat the Lakers by 2 points. And honestly, we spoke about Steph Curry in previous podcasts, and we'll speak about him again. The man's just a 3-point king. It's a step in, step out, bounce, boom. Nobody can stop him. See, as soon as he takes that step in and he bounces back, he just creates it's remarkable. And last night, he just made LeBron and co look stupid. He honestly did. So that scared me as well, seeing the Lakers get beat. I feel the Lakers are kind of trembling at the moment.
How are they getting on? The last time I seen, I think they were like 6-2.
They are still 8. They are still 8-2.
8-2, okay.
They are still top of the Western, but it just seems to me that they're not really at it the same as they were last year. The postseason is usually where the Lakers do kick into form, but even though they haven't been in the postseason before last season, they weren't in the postseason for a while. I think last season, from their normal season, getting into the postseason, they were a totally different outfit.
Yeah.
I think it just stepped up a notch. A lot of teams, when the postseason comes in, that's when they get found out in the playoffs. I can see. I don't know. I don't see the Bucks going all the way this year. I feel there's going to be a change in manager for them. They're doing well, but I just don't see them going all the way. It's definitely going to be a toss-up between either the Lakers, the Clippers, or the Nets for me, purely because, well, the form they've been in at the moment, but just because of the roster they've got, it's just second to none compared to the other teams in the league. I don't think MD can compete with them. They are just the Barcelonas and the Real Madrids of the NBA. So that's all we're talking about just now. That's the NBA wrapped up. If you've got anything you want included in the World Sports Podcast, please drop it down below. We're going to have some new and exciting ideas coming the coming weeks. Please enjoy this video, and do you know how you enjoy it? You click that big like button down below, and also please drop a subscription. Help us out. Drop a subscription. The more subscriptions we get, the better content we can give you guys. Thank you very much for joining us, Luke.
Thanks for having me as always.
And it's been an absolute pleasure. Until then, say goodbye from me.